Hello everyone, and welcome to the first review of 2024. First off, I want to sincerely apologize for the extremely long delay. As you know, life gets in the way, and I was so focused on many other things. I did fall a little bit behind, but I'm working on it to get back on track. But anyways, we are about to dive into some more Christmas episodes from the CGI era. And I thought to get the, after Christmas spirit rolling, we're gonna kick things off with my personal favorite DVD from Season 18. Without any further delay, let's take a look at the history of the Christmas Engines. The Christmas Engines was released on DVD by Universal on October 28, 2014. This DVD consisted of 5 episodes, all once again told by Mark Morahan, and it also contained another handful of bonus features. Just like the US DVD, the Canadian, UK, Australian, and Netherlands releases all featured the exact same 5 stories. And unfortunately, just like that, this is where I leave you guys with the history, cause there's nothing else to talk about. So, let's get right into the episodes. So the Christmas Engines features 5 stories from Season 18, plus the added-on bonus features in between the episodes. And our story stops are Last Train for Christmas, Long Lost Friend, Duncan the Humbug, Duck in the Water, and The Perfect Gift. So let's begin with our first episode, Last Train for Christmas. It's Christmas Eve on Sodor, and Connor is rushing around to get everyone home on time, including a little boy and his parents. But heavy snow blocks the tracks, and all the engines are sent out to help clear a way for the last train. Straight out of the gate, this episode is fantastic. There really is something so magical about this particular story. I don't know if it's the outstanding scenery or the music, but this whole story is simply heartwarming. The determination from Connor and Thomas and the others shows how much they are 100% committed to getting these people home for Christmas, even when all hope looks lost at first with the heavy snow. Now, I can't say that I'm a huge fan of Connor personally because I never really cared for him to begin with. However, I admire how much effort he throws out there and pushes forward through the nasty weather. And I love that element of how whenever the engines look up and they think they see Santa, but it's just Harold, until the very end and we do get to see the big man himself. That's very clever writing on Brenner's part. And you know something? I've always had this crazy thought. But does anyone else pick up little hints of the Polar Express? Not necessarily with the story, but mainly through the visuals. Maybe that's just me. I really don't know. Bottom line, this is how you write a proper Thomas Christmas episode, solidifying the Christmas message of love and kindness. I don't know how much better it could possibly get. Not only is the episode the best of the season, but it is definitely one of Andrew Brenner's best episodes to date. I rank it a 10 out of 10. This cuts into our first bonus segment, which is Calling All Engines. In this installment, Sir Topham Hatt tells us about Toby and Henry. As is, like Santa's Little Engine, the obvious is stated. Henry is number 3, Toby is number 7. Henry originally needed special coal. Toby is square and has a bell. It's shit we've heard so many times before. Easily skippable. You're not missing anything. Which then brings us into our second episode, Long Lost Friend. Gator returns to Sodor for Christmas and can't wait to see Percy, but he gets pulled aside for a salt delivery, and when Percy hears the news, he rushes off to find Gator, but neither engine can seem to spot each other. Now, with this episode, I think it's a flip of the coin here. You either like it, or you don't. Me personally, I don't think it's that bad, but I'd be wrong to say that it's a perfect story. Let's cut to the chase with this one. It's nice to see Gator again after the events of Tale of the Brave, but truthfully speaking, I don't think it was necessary to bring him back. Because as quick as he came, the faster he was gone. We don't see him ever again. And you know why? Doesn't take rocket science to figure that one out. In addition, this is one of those kinds of stories that I personally feel like it's not meant to be taken super seriously. I mean, It's just so convenient that the paper was wet and no one could read it. And it's also convenient that wherever Gator goes and Percy follows, they just can't seem to spot each other until the very end. If you get where I'm going with this, the story just takes you loop after loop, making it kinda silly. But I would also be wrong if I said this episode didn't have just a tiny hint of charm, and that is the very strong friendship between Percy and Gator. I mean, it's clear that the two of them care for one another, but it's a bit ridiculous to have them think because they can't find each other that neither one wants to see the other, which, to be fair, is a tiny bit relatable, but once again, we're back in a loop. One could say that this episode is a little sloppy, which it kind of is, but I wouldn't go as far as to say it's the worst I've ever seen. It's okay at best, I think. I'm ranking it a 7 out of 10. We then cut into our next segment with good old Mr. Perkins telling us the story of A Scarf for Percy, or, as it's better known, Percy and the Trousers. Like I said last time, I really enjoy these segments because Ben truly has a wonderful storytelling voice. I could listen to him all day reading these Thomas stories. Seriously, anytime you see a storytime segment with him on it, do not skip it. And that cuts to our third episode, Duncan the Humbug. Duncan is a curmudgeon about the Christmas season, and his terrible mood starts to take a toll on the other engines. When an offer is made for a new coat of paint, Duncan must prove that he can go the whole day without being grumpy. If you were to pair up Grumpy Passenger and Humbug and ask me personally which one I prefer, I would choose Humbug. Not to say that I don't like Grumpy Passenger, but Humbug just feels like a proper Duncan story, if you know what I mean. The Duncan that we know is always complaining about something, and here it's no different. Whether grumbling about how cold it is or how icy the tracks are and that he has no sand, it feels like something that you would see in the classic series. And he would be the type of character to suck the fun out of the holiday season, especially when everyone is extra happy this time of year. It's a typical case of someone's bad mood having a drastic effect on others. And because everyone is tired of it, this is when the challenge comes into play. And it's kind of funny to see Duncan just put on this fake happy face whenever something's bothering him.
What a lovely song, Duncan!
Isn't it?
Like, you just know he's looking to blow his top any minute, and he knows he can't. It's hilarious! Obviously, we know he does end up losing when he snaps at Luke, and the immediate reaction that he has is when Duncan truly realizes that when he grumbles all the time, he really upsets his friends. And that's why I commend him for actually helping Luke in the end, even when he knows he failed. And let's not forget this. Even though he does end up getting a new coat of paint, the biggest reward that he receives is knowing that no one thinks any less of him for grumbling and learns that he doesn't always have to make a fuss.
At least some of the time.
Of course, this will never change Duncan completely, but this is kind of why I prefer this story to that of Grumpy Passenger. And that's why I feel like it deserves a 9 out of 10.
Bah, humbug.
We are then brought back to Mr. Perkins' office, where he writes a postcard about Tidmouth Sheds. You know, just like I mentioned back on Santa's Little Engine, I don't care for these particular segments. I don't really need to know all the specifics about certain locations, because there are some places that I just don't care to know about. And I also can't be bothered to hear stuff I already know about said certain places. Like, why do I have to sit here for 2.5 minutes listening to stuff I already know about Tidmouth Sheds? There's 7 berths. We know how the 7th one came to be. The bitch got it. There's a turntable in the front. Old news. Can we just move on, please? And that brings us to the 4th episode, Duck in the Water. When Duck splashes into a huge puddle, James is sent to fetch Rocky to pull him out. But more confusion occurs when an impatient James leaves without securing Rocky's hook, causing him to knock over a signal. I really don't understand why they had to throw this episode onto the DVD. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't exactly get a wintry feel off of this episode. With the gray sky and the rainy weather, I don't know, maybe I'm just overlooking this minor detail. As far as the story goes, it's okay for the most part. Mr. Self-Centered doesn't want to do any other job than pulling passenger trains. You know, typical James just being James. What else is new? No one should really be surprised at this point. His character has been, I think, on a very slippery slope since the hit era, and that's on account of how his attitude is written, which may lead others to say he's probably one of the bad characters. However, despite all of this, you really gotta appreciate Andrew Brenner's unique writing style. He's not exactly shoehorning the lessons right into our faces. He's letting it play throughout the story to solidify the message. And the lessons to take away from this is the importance of signals and how you won't be able to do the jobs you like on a daily basis. Obviously, it's made abundantly clear what James is doing is both irresponsible and dangerous, which leads to the confusion during the rescue. And his impatience could have put a lot of others in danger, not just with the knockdown signal, but could you imagine if someone got whacked with Rocky's heavy hook? It's a great way to show kids the necessary skills it requires in a certain environment and to be watchful of others around you. And just throwing this out there, James at least has some sort of remorse, which you simply can't ignore. But of course, this is just another lesson that James learns and forgets later on. Now, even though I don't know if this was the right choice for this DVD, I cannot deny that it's a pretty solid story. Maybe not one of the best of Brenner's stories per se, but still good nonetheless. The most I feel like this episode deserves is an 8 out of 10. We are then greeted by the Earl of Sodor for our final segment. Another boring-ass quiz game. And this time it's centered around the episodes No Snow for Thomas and Merry Winter Wish. What a collab! A decent episode and an episode I can barely remember. Even in this segment, the questions are just as stupid.
What shape was the big, shiny object that Thomas collected?
Oh, don't you know it was totally a square? Wait, I get it. His special was Toby. Okay, I'm done here. And last, but certainly not least, comes our final episode, The Perfect Gift. With Sodor all decked out for Christmas, the scrapyard doesn't have very many decorations, so Percy tries to find Reg the perfect gift in order to cheer him up. I have a very weird relationship with this one. When it first aired, I thought it was just okay, but after a while, I got bored with it very quickly. Since I've not seen this in such a long time, I now think this is pretty good. If I can be honest here, I personally could give less than a damn about Reg. Since his appearance in Tale of the Brave and so on, he doesn't really do anything for me as a character. However, I do actually find it rather sweet that Percy goes out of his way to get the right gift for Reg to make him happy, even though we know Reg doesn't look all that bothered. Seeing Percy go through all these failed attempts to what he believes is cheering up his friend, I like how this showcases the kind-hearted character that he is. What's even nicer is when the tables turn and we see it's Reg who makes Percy happy with his surprise. Even if he doesn't fully understand Reg's liking for Scrap, Percy realizes that Reg is just celebrating Christmas in his own unique way. And even if his gift ideas didn't quite work out, Percy still receives his own gift from Reg to take back with him. When you think about it, it's a very simple story, but it has such a wholesome message behind it, that it doesn't matter what the gift, it's the thought and the heart that counts. I'd say this was a pretty solid way to cap off the release, and I'm ranking it a 9 out of 10. So, what do I think about the Christmas Engines? Well, as I already mentioned, it is my favorite DVD from the 18th season. It does have a pretty solid lineup of episodes, even though I still feel like Duck in the Water isn't entirely correct for this particular DVD. I don't know if it's just me, but I don't exactly get that festive kind of feel whenever I watch this episode. But even with this teeny tiny little flaw, it's not enough to ruin the episode for me personally. It at least has a DVD release, and it could have easily become one of the later CGI ones that never made it to home media, so I guess that's a plus. Anyways, there's just something about this DVD that always puts me in a festive mood, as say do some other classic releases. Whether it's watching the engines working together to get the people home for Christmas, or simply just being with your friends for the holidays, it's all just so heartwarming to a degree. I know this may sound sappy as but it's true though. Most of these episodes are some of the best of this season, and they all spread really great messages. However you feel about this particular lineup of episodes, I totally recommend getting this DVD. It's the perfect one to add to any holiday collection. And that concludes this review. I want to thank you all for watching, and if you like this video, then feel free to like, comment, and subscribe for more of these and other Thomas-related content. And be sure to check out some of my other reviews in the playlist down below in the description. So what is my next review going to be? Well, we do need to cover another Brandon-based tape, and I think it's time we took a look at some of the weakest episodes from Tales from the Tracks. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.